Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be doing a quick recap of the Rose Bowl game between Penn State and Utah. Penn State won the game 35-21. This game was very competitive from the start. These teams were going all out, right at each other. It's a bar fight, a lot of chirping going on in the trenches between the teams to start this thing. As the game went on, both teams started to assert themselves on the offensive line on both sides. Both defensive lines were struggling at the beginning, but as the game went on, we saw Penn State take full advantage of Utah. Utah had to switch up some O-line. I think they moved the right tackle to right guard. Obviously, third quarter, about 8.5 minute mark, Cam Rising went down, and from there, Penn State saw blood in the water, blew this thing open, and went out to a 35-14 point lead. So going back to the beginning of the game, both defenses were dialed in. This is very low scoring. First quarter went by very fast. Manny Diaz and Penn State, they played just like a Manny Diaz defense. Very aggressive. A lot of blitzing. I think Cam Rising did a good job of handling the blitz. He got the ball out pretty fast. He had Vele on a couple big throws, a lot of third down conversions throughout the first half. Utah, first couple Penn State drives, I thought Utah could dominate this game from what it looked like. Penn State really looked like they didn't have any adjustments for Utah's pressure on third down. Utah did a good job of disguising that pressure like they have all year. We saw it against USC both times. USC looked like they were rolling in those games. Utah would come out with something new on third down and get a couple stops in a row that they needed. This happened early on in this game as well. At the half, this game was tied 14-14. And in the third quarter, Penn State scored with about 9 minutes left in the third quarter. And then, as I mentioned, Cam Rising got hurt. That's where this game fell apart. Utah had 2 turnovers in this game. Penn State had 0. Cam Rising threw a pick, and then Barnes, the backup quarterback, he threw a pick as well. That's really the story of the game. Penn State did win by 2 possessions, those 2 turnovers. Sean Clifford, 279 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. This is one of the best performances I've seen from Sean Clifford. He played good all around. He did what he was supposed to do, played within the system. Didn't make bad plays worse. When the play wasn't there, he threw it away or took like a 1 or 2 yard loss. That's why his rushing numbers weren't all that great. He had 8 carries for -1 yards, but a lot of that was sacks or just doing the right thing, going down instead of running back, losing 10, 15 more yards than what you should. Nicholas Singleton, the true freshman. Remember, he was the former 5-star number 1 overall running back in the class of 2022. 7 carries, 120 yards, 2 touchdowns, averaged 17 yards a carry, and he had, I think, the 3rd longest run in Rose Bowl history, 87-yarder to open things in the second half. Absolutely explosive. There was a huge holding call that the refs did miss, but it wasn't called, so 87-yard touchdown it is for Singleton. Keandre Lambert-Smith, 3 catches, 124 yards, 1 touchdown, and it was an 88-yarder. As Kyle Whittingham said after the game, our defense got big played, and they really did. That was really the story of the game. Those 2 touchdowns were the deciding factor. The 2 turnovers and those 2 long touchdowns, 2 biggest reasons Penn State won this game. On the defensive side of the ball, when Cam Rising went out, Penn State didn't let Utah do anything. They scored a garbage time touchdown with like 20 seconds left. Other than that, Utah didn't score in the second half. Jair Brown and Damian Robinson, they played great on defense for Penn State all night long. Abdul Carter, he was all over the field. His numbers on the stat sheet may not show that, but number 11, very popular number. Huge legacy with that number. He lived up to the billing. He played great. And I want to go back to Manny Diaz. I talked about him at the beginning. But Manny Diaz, this was a very underrated hire in my opinion. I talked about it on my Penn State preview video back before the season started. He was the head coach and defensive coordinator at Miami. Those defenses, I want to say they were great, but for like 1 or 2 seasons there, 2018, the turnover chain when that first started, Miami, their defense was spectacular. Like, they were very aggressive. I remember one time a top 5 Notre Dame team went in there, or a top 10 Notre Dame team went to Miami, and they lost like 41-8. Manny Diaz can coach defense, coach linebackers. They're recruiting well. Penn State's not going anywhere. I think yesterday was a good indicament of what's to come for Penn State on defense. Offense is just going to get better. Sean Clifford played great, but throughout the season against Ohio State, Michigan, I mean, Sean Clifford, I don't want to say he lost the game against Ohio State, but he was just giving the ball to Ohio State at like the 20-yard line. He threw a pick six, fumbled, a lot of different things going on. He didn't do that against Utah. He didn't lose them the game. He won them the game. He did what he was supposed to. With that said, Drew Aller, the 5-star quarterback, freshman this year, he will be there next year. This offense is going to be explosive. I talked about Nick Singleton, but they also have Katrin Allen coming back. Penn State's going to be a great team to watch next year. Flipping it over to Utah. This game really fell out of their hands, as I said. 2 big plays. Cam Rising going down. Those are probably the 3 things that lost Utah this game. They came in here. No Brent Keithy. He got hurt earlier in the season. Arguably the top 3 tight end in college football. Then Dalton Kincaid, another top 3 to 4 tight end in college football. He opted out of this game. So they're down a lot of weapons on offense. As I said, they had to flip some O-linemen around too in the middle of this game, which is never good. R.J. Hubert on the defensive side of the ball, though, for Utah, he was just getting attacked all game. I don't know what Kyle Whittingham saw. They keep putting him out on an island all by himself, but Penn State kept taking advantage of him. I thought that was huge all game. I know Kirk Herbstreit on the broadcast and Chris Fowler, they both kept talking about why is Hubert on an island? Why do they keep setting him up for failure? I mean, there was a play at Penn State. They just sent a wide receiver on a go route, and the corner just sat on the line of scrimmage. He didn't follow him whatsoever. Hubert was in the middle of the field, and he was supposed to get over there in time. I just don't think that's fair. They just kept setting him up to get beat. Lander Barton, he was a really high recruit in 2022. I thought this was his coming out party. A lot of opt-outs, a lot of injuries. He played great yesterday. I think he's going to be one of the best Utah linebackers in recent memory. And as people always said, what if Kyle Whittingham gets some talent? What if Kyle Whittingham gets some talent? What's the Pac-12 going to do? Well, Leonard Burton's a guy, highly recruited. A lot of people wanted him. He ended up going to Utah. He was a really big bright spot for them yesterday. He had 4 tackles. He had 3 tackles for loss and a sack. Very impressive. Now, Utah going forward next year, I don't know if Bryson Barnes is the guy. From what I saw yesterday, I know he beat Washington State when he had the sub. But against Washington State, you could run the ball. You could do other things on offense. Against superior competition like Penn State, you can't just line up and run it every play. Penn State knew it was coming. They loaded the box and they made him throw. He just couldn't. He did have 112 yards, but 10 for 19 with an 18 QBR, that's just not going to get it done. So going forward, they have Jabari Johnson. He decommitted from Utah. He's going to Missouri. I don't know what this quarterback room is going to look like in 2022. I think transfer portal. I think if Cam Rising does leave, I think transfer portal is the way to go. This is going to be somewhere where a quarterback's going to want to go and play. You're going to have a good defense. Andy Ludwig's system's very good, quarterback friendly. So I think transfer portal could be an option. With that said, Cam Rising, his injury yesterday, who knows what it is. If it's an ACL and he does come back, he's going to miss a lot of the season probably if it's a year. But if it's not that serious and he comes back, Utah's going to be perfectly fine. They're going to be a top 10 team to start the year. Cam Rising should be probably a top 8, 7 Heisman candidate. Maybe top 10. Just depends on how healthy he is and what kind of weapons Utah will have next year. They're going to have their running backs. Jaquindon Jackson, he's coming back. He had 81 yards in the Rose Bowl. So there's a lot of bright spots for the future of Utah, but obviously very disappointing. Back-to-back seasons, you lose the Rose Bowl. I don't think this one was as heartbreaking as last year. Last year they had control of the game pretty much the whole time. And just like Penn State did to them, Ohio State, a lot of big plays, constant scoring. Ultimately, Utah lost the game. I'm sure Utah wants to get back here. We're just going to have to wait and see for 2023. That's going to do it for today's video. Thank you guys for watching. Be sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.